Welcome to the Daily English Learning Podcast.
Hello to all our wonderful English learners around the world. Welcome back to the Daily English Learning Podcast. I am your host, Olivia, and I am thrilled to be here with my brilliant co-host, Martin, for another essential episode in our Modal Verbs series.
Hello, everyone. It is fantastic to be here again. In our previous episodes, we have covered all the major modal verbs and their perfect forms. Today, we are focusing on need to, needn't, and don't need to, which express necessity in the absence of obligation.
These structures are closely related to must and have to, which we explored earlier in the series. But need adds its own nuances, especially in the negative forms, where some very important differences exist between need, don't need to, and didn't need to.
Many learners are unsure about when to use need to versus have to or must, and the negative and past forms of need cause a lot of confusion. By the end of this episode, you will be completely confident using all of them correctly.
So let us get started and master these important structures together. Let us begin with need to in its most common form. Need to expresses necessity or something that is required. It is very similar to have to, but slightly softer in tone.
For example, I need to call the doctor. I have had a terrible headache for 3 days. Or, we need to finish this report before Friday. In both cases, the action is necessary or required.
Need to conjugates like a regular verb. So in the third person singular, we add s, she needs to see a doctor, or he needs to leave by 6 o'clock. This is different from modal verbs like must or can, which never change form.
For questions with need to, we use the auxiliary verb do. Do you need to work this weekend? Or, does she need to attend the meeting? These are natural and common questions about obligation or necessity.
Negatives with need to also use do. I don't need to work on Sundays, or she doesn't need to attend every meeting. These express absence of obligation, and we will look at these in more detail shortly.
Need has an interesting double life in English. It can behave as a regular verb as we just saw with need to, but it can also behave as a modal verb, particularly in negative sentences and questions. This modal use is called modal need.
As a modal verb, need does not take s in the third person, does not use do in negatives or questions, and is followed directly by the base verb without to.
Examples of modal need. Need I attend the meeting is a question using modal need. She need not worry about it is a negative using modal need. Notice, no s on need, no do, no to before the verb.
However, modal need is quite formal and old-fashioned in modern English. It is more common in British English than American English, and even in British English, it is becoming less frequent. You are much more likely to hear, does she need to worry, or she doesn't need to worry in everyday conversation.
So as a learner, you should recognize modal need when you see it in formal writing or older texts, but in your own speech and writing, it is perfectly fine to always use need to as a regular verb.
Need is the contracted negative form of modal need. You needn't worry about it means there is no obligation or no necessity to worry. It is similar to you don't need to worry and you don't have to worry.
Examples. You needn't come if you are tired. We can manage without you. Or, she needn't bring anything to the party. We have everything. These express that an action is not necessary.
Needn't is more common in British English than American English. American speakers almost always say you don't need to or you don't have to in these situations. In British English, needn't is fairly common, especially in spoken and informal written contexts.
The key meaning of needn't is the same as don't have to. Something is not necessary. It is optional. You needn't pay now. You can pay later. The person can choose to pay later without any problem.
Compare with must not or mustn't. You mustn't park here means parking is forbidden. You needn't park here means parking here is not necessary, but you can if you want. These are completely different meanings, and confusing them can cause serious misunderstandings.
Don't need to is the negative form of need to as a regular verb. You don't need to bring anything to the party means there is no necessity. She doesn't need to attend every session means attendance at every session is not required.
Don't need to and need have the same meaning for present and future situations. You don't need to rush, and you needn't rush both mean rushing is not necessary. In American English, don't need to is strongly preferred.
In British English, both are used and both are acceptable. For formal writing in British English, needn't is quite common. For everyday conversation in either variety, don't need to is safe and natural.
Remember the important comparison. Don't need to and need both mean something is optional or unnecessary. This is the same as don't have to, but must not, and mustn't mean something is forbidden. Always be careful about which meaning you want to express.
Let us compare these three carefully, because learners often mix them up.
First, need to. You need to wear a seatbelt in the car. This is a requirement. It is necessary.
Second, need or don't need to. You needn't wear a tie to the restaurant. It is not a formal place. The tie is optional. There is no obligation.
Third, don't have to. You don't have to wear a tie. Same meaning as need. The tie is optional.
And comparing with must not. You must not wear shoes inside the temple. This is a prohibition. Wearing shoes is forbidden, completely different from needn't.
So the key relationships are need to equals have to equals must for necessity. Needn't equals don't need to equals don't have to for no obligation, and must not equals mustn't for prohibition. These are the three levels you need to keep in mind.
Now we come to one of the most important and often misunderstood distinctions in this area. The difference between didn't need to and needn't have in the past.
Didn't need to plus base verb describes a situation where something was not necessary in the past, and as a result, the person did not do it. The action did not happen because it was not required.
For example, I didn't need to take an umbrella because it was sunny all day. The weather was sunny, so taking an umbrella was not necessary, and therefore I did not take one. The action was not done because it was not needed.
Need have plus past participle, on the other hand, describes a situation where something was not necessary, but the person did it anyway. The action happened, but it turned out to be unnecessary.
For example, you needn't have brought an umbrella. It has been sunny all day. The person did bring the umbrella, but it turned out to be unnecessary because of the weather. There might be a slight suggestion of mild surprise or even gentle humor.
Let us compare these two directly. I didn't need to cook last night because my friend brought food. I did not cook. The action did not happen. Versus, I needn't have cooked last night. My friend brought food and we had too much. I did cook, but it was unnecessary.
This is a genuinely important distinction. Didn't need to. Action not done because not necessary. Needn't have. Action was done but turned out to be unnecessary. The same unnecessary situation, but in one case, the action happened and in the other, it did not.
Let us practice more examples to make this absolutely clear.
Scenario 1. You were worried about a formal meeting, so you prepared a long presentation, but when you arrived, the meeting was canceled. Needn't have. I needn't have prepared that presentation. The meeting was canceled. You prepared it, but it was unnecessary.
Scenario 2. Your colleague told you the meeting was canceled before you started preparing, so you did not prepare. Didn't need to. I didn't need to prepare a presentation because the meeting was canceled. You did not prepare because it was not necessary.
Scenario 3. You rushed to the station, bought a new ticket, and ran to the platform, only to find your original train was delayed. You had plenty of time after all. Needn't have. I needn't have rushed. The train was delayed by an hour.
Scenario 4. Your friend told you about the delay before you left home, so you took your time. Didn't need to. I didn't need to rush. My friend told me the train was delayed.
The pattern is clear. If the person did something that was unnecessary, use need have. If the person did not do something because it was not necessary, use didn't need to.
For questions about necessity, we use do or dos with need to. Do I need to bring my passport? Or does she need to sign the form? These are natural questions about what is required.
In the past, did you need to show your ID? Or did they need to pay extra? These ask about past requirements.
With modal need in questions, need I say more? Or need we discuss this further? These are quite formal and often rhetorical. Need I say more is a very common expression suggesting that something is so obvious that further explanation is unnecessary.
In everyday conversation, do I need to is much more natural than modal need questions. Do I need to say more? Sounds perfectly natural. Need I say more? Sounds formal or dramatic, and is often used for effect.
For future necessity, we use will need to or won't need to. You will need to bring your driving license to the test, or you won't need to bring anything. We have all the equipment.
She will need to reapply for her visa next year describes a future requirement. They won't need to attend every session describes absence of future obligation.
Going to need to is also very common for planned or anticipated future necessity. I'm going to need to study much harder for this exam, or we're going to need to hire more staff next month.
In professional communication, need to is extremely common. We need to address this issue immediately, or you will need to submit your application by Friday.
In formal writing, need to is often preferred over must or have to because it sounds slightly less authoritarian. Applicants need to provide two forms of identification sounds more neutral than applicants must provide two forms of identification.
In business emails, phrases like, please note that you will need to, or you may need to contact your local office, are polite and professional ways of communicating requirements.
There are several common expressions using NEED that are worth knowing. There is no need to panic means panicking is unnecessary. It is a reassuring expression. There is no need to apologize means an apology is not required.
No need, on its own, is a very casual way of saying something is unnecessary. If someone offers to help and you say, no need, I can manage, you are saying their help is not required.
If need be means if it is necessary. If need be, we can work late to finish the project. This is a fairly formal expression, but appears in both spoken and written English.
A crying need or a desperate need describe a very urgent or strong necessity. There is a crying need for better infrastructure in this area. These are more literary or journalistic expressions.
Let us look at the most frequent mistakes learners make with these structures.
The first mistake is confusing needn't with must not, incorrect meaning. You needn't tell anyone when you want to say that telling is forbidden. If you want to say it is forbidden, use you must not tell anyone, or you should not tell anyone. Needn't only means it is not necessary, not that it is forbidden.
The second mistake is confusing didn't need to with need have, incorrect. I needn't have booked in advance because all the tickets were sold out. This is wrong because if the tickets were sold out, booking in advance would have been necessary and correct, not unnecessary. Need have only works when the action truly was unnecessary.
The third mistake is adding s to need in modal use, incorrect. She needs not worry, correct in modal form. She need not worry. However, as we said, it is simpler and more natural to say she doesn't need to worry.
The fourth mistake is using to after need in modal form, incorrect. You needn't to rush. Correct. You needn't rush. When eat is used as a modal, there is no to before the main verb.
The fifth mistake is using needn't have for a past situation where the action was not done. Incorrect. I needn't have called him because he wasn't there. If you did not call him, use didn't need to. I didn't need to call him because he wasn't there.
Let us practice in real contexts.
Scenario 1. Before a job interview, you spent hours ironing a suit. When you arrived, the interview was by video call. I needn't have ironed my suit. The interview was on video.
Scenario 2. Your manager told you in advance that the interview would be on video, so you did not iron your suit. I didn't need to iron my suit because the interview was on video.
Scenario 3. For a trip abroad. Do I need to get a visa for this country? No, you don't need to. Citizens of your country can visit for up to 90 days without one.
Scenario 4. Reassuring a worried friend before an exam. You needn't worry so much. You have prepared really well and you know the material.
Scenario 5. A professional email about a meeting. Please note that you will need to bring a valid photo ID to the session. You won't need to bring printed copies of the documents as these will be provided.
Let us review everything clearly. Need to plus base verb. Necessity or requirement, regular verb conjugation. I need to call the doctor. She needs to submit the form by Friday.
Need plus base verb. No obligation, modal form, more common in British English and formal contexts. You needn't worry about it. He needn't attend every session.
Don't need to plus base verb. No obligation, regular verb form, natural in both British and American English. You don't need to rush. She doesn't need to come early.
Did need to plus base verb. No necessity in the past, action was not done. I didn't need to take an umbrella. It was sunny all day.
Need have plus past participle. Action was done but was unnecessary. You needn't have bought so much food. We already had plenty.
Will need to plus base verb. Future necessity. You will need to renew your passport before the trip.
Won't need to plus base verb. No future obligation. You won't need to bring anything. We have everything ready. What a detailed and important episode. Need to need and don't need to are essential for expressing necessity and absence of obligation in English, and the distinction between didn't need to and need have is one that will really set your English apart.
Once you master these subtle differences, your English will sound genuinely precise and sophisticated. These are the details that make learners truly fluent.
In our next and final episode of the Modal Verbs series, we will bring everything together in a complete review. We will look at how to choose the right modal for every situation and practice with a wide range of real-life contexts.
Until then, practice noticing need to, need, and don't need to in your reading and listening. They are everywhere once you start looking for them.
Thank you for listening, everyone. You needn't have worried about modal verbs. After this series, you have got them covered.
You didn't need to be an expert to start this series, but you are becoming one. See you in the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, and remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep practicing.